there's two applications. So they have to go through a process in our office to get a certificate of eligibility to live on base or in at least privatized housing, right? But then they also still have to complete the actual application with Kirtland Family Housing, aka Hunt Companies, to get a lease. So if they don't have both of them, then they can't move in. And that makes it pretty competitive sometimes for the outside world, but it makes it complicated for us because it's last minute. Oh, I need this from you. Members are overwhelmed. They're moving to a whole new location, whether it's coming from overseas to here or within the US. And so they have their list of things that they need to do. Housing is one of them, but they think, oh, it's a one-stop shop, and it's not. And that's part of the problem.
Help, I need some guidance. Help, selling and buying. Help, I need some real estate. Help.
Welcome to Albuquerque Real Estate Talk, where we talk about real estate in the Albuquerque area. And this week, we were talking with the housing director or the housing program manager for our neighbors, Kirtland Air Force Base. I say neighbors, I mean, I guess we're all part of the same Albuquerque family. And so we're going to talk about housing for the military folk here in New Mexico. And I'm joined again, like I said, Margaret Burge. Did I pronounce that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. A housing program manager for Kirtland Air Force Base. And Margaret, let me just start with, can you give me a quick overview of what the military housing office at Kirtland does and what your mission is?
So our primary mission is to house active duty individuals and their families. So we have some individuals, of course, who don't have dependents. So we have to find housing for them. And we also then have to make sure we have enough housing for our members who have family. So my team goes and they email at least 60 days prior to them coming to Kirtland to let them know about their housing options in Albuquerque, which, as you know, is not always the highest for them, especially if they don't want to live on the installation. We do have a privatized company that we oversee, and it's Hunt Companies. So Kirtland Family Housing. So that's where things get confused for our inbounds when they see Kirtland Housing. They're like, oh, that's the military side. No, there's two different sides. And so it gets a little confusing.
Well, and obviously in preparation for this, I did a little Googling and searching. And of course, you know, that was one of the things that popped up is that versus your office. And it's kind of like, okay, wait, this is private. And then there's obviously your housing office. So let me ask this, what are the common misconceptions that people have about your housing and office and what you guys do?
So they don't understand there's two applications. So they have to go through a process in our office to get a certificate of eligibility to live on base or in at least privatized housing, right? But then they also still have to complete the actual application with Kirtland Family Housing, aka Hunt Companies, to get a lease. So if they don't have both of them, then they can't move in. And that makes it pretty competitive sometimes for the outside world, but it makes it complicated for us because it's last minute. Oh, I need this from you. Yeah, we know. We emailed you, a month ago. So it's the lack of responsiveness is probably some of the biggest problems because members are overwhelmed. They're moving to a whole new location, whether it's coming from overseas to here or within the US. And so they have their list of things that they need to do. Housing is one of them, but they think, oh, it's a one-stop shop, and it's not. And that's part of the problem.
So just to follow on that, what would you say is the first step somebody should take? They get their PCS orders. What's the first step they should take if they're going to be transferring or having a change of station to Kirtland?
So it is on Air Force orders very clearly. It should be on all other orders that they have to contact their gaining military installation, their housing office. And homes.mil is a really good way for them to do that because they're able to do a search for the location they're going to. And they put in their information electronically. Then we get it through a system and we respond back with emails with the referral packet and all the things that they need to know. And if they want to live on base, they get the referral packet. If they don't and they opt out, then we give them additional options about living off base.
Got it. And I saw that there's like a tool you can log in and you can say where you're going. How does that tool work? And would you recommend it?
Absolutely, when it comes to homes.mil, yes, because it works not only for the US members, but it also the ones for overseas. So wherever you're going, you need to use that tool because it's going to get you in contact with your military housing office. So your gaining station can be prepared for you. You can even go in there with your local military housing office and they will help inform your gaining station. So if we have someone come into the office and say, well, I'm supposed to go to this location, but I don't know how to do anything about housing, we will go ahead and make sure it gets sent out to that housing office that should be gaining.
I see. How early should somebody reach out and start that process once they get their PCS orders?
Report then no later than date. They need to be here at least a good week before, so they should start at least a month in advance, because then they have to also account for any kind of furnishings. So if they have furnishings that they have to have shipped, there's a whole nother process through a transportation office that they have to work with as well. So a good 30 days is your best bet. If you have orders, they call them RIP orders. So that's kind of a preemptive to let them know that they're going to be PCSing. If they start when they get those, that's even better.
Got it. And so let's talk about housing options. You know, people that haven't been to Albuquerque before, they don't, kind of recognize the lay of the land, obviously us that live here. But Kirtland is in southeast Albuquerque, really basically kind of wrapping around the airfield. I want an airfield. It's funny because I was reading all the stuff about Kirtland and the history and everything. And of course, they kept calling it the airfield. And of course, now it's the airport that's shared with the Air Force. So there's a lot of options. We talk to clients that are stationed at Kirtland or working at one of the private entities with Sandia or any of the other entities that are there on the base area. And some of them live in far north Rio Rancho, and they love it and they don't mind the commute, because a lot of them commute very early too, or so they don't hit maybe the prime traffic. But what are the both on and off base options for folks coming to Kirtland?
So first, the on base is through the hunt companies. That's the privatized sector that they have to complete the lease. And it's typically broken down by rank, our villages. We have seven villages. We have village 1 through 7. And then we have another one that's called Pershing Park, which theoretically is village 8. And then we have Maxwell Place, which is across the street from the Carlisle area, because we have a gate there. And that is our village 9. And now that is open to active duty and also government employees and general public. So we have a wide range. We have a total of 1,301 homes that we can have rented out that are covered through hunt companies, right? So that's the first option. If they choose not to do that, they want to live out in the city, homes.mil, again, it'll list rentable homes. These are people who prefer to rent to our military members, so they place them through that particular system. But then we also have the rental partnership program, which we shorten it for RPP. It's so much easier. We have 14 companies right now that we're working with that actually total of 19 locations. So what they've agreed to do is provide some kind of discount to our military members if they go that option. But it's not just, okay, rental, here we go. They have a process they have to do with our office as well. There's another referral, but the nice thing about RPP is we're the middleman, my office is. So if they have an issue with the landlord, they come to us, or if the landlord has an issue with our active duty member, they come to us. So we require site visits first. I won't rent properties or put them in this agreement to my members unless I feel safe, right? Because we know every city, doesn't matter where you're at, there's sketchy areas. And so we have to weed them out. And that's just unfortunate. So we have to do. So that's what we do. We also make sure that we do a move-in visit with the member. So we walk the home with them and we tell them, okay, maybe put this on your list, and kind of walk through their checklist with them, because a lot of them are new. They've never rented it before. They're just out of the dorms or out of tech school. So they're very new to the world of renting. And then when they get ready to leave, we again walk the property with them, so that way we can say, okay, this damage wasn't on your list when you moved in, so you're going to have to cover that one. So we're there to help both sides when it comes to our rental partnership program.
Yeah, it sounds like as a landlord, it's a pretty good situation if you're a landlord, because if you've got the ability to reach out to your office if they have a problem tenant that also happens to be on base, you can help with those situations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Our goal is to find safe, affordable housing for our members, right? So this program's been a great success. COVID, it kind of died out because COVID. So we finally got it up and running again in 23. So it's finally settling out. But as we know, it's harder and harder in Albuquerque to find a place to rent, which is making it a little more complicated, because Section 8, my members can't live in Section 8. It goes against our rules, right? Plus they get, it's a mouthful some days. So they get so much a month for rent and utilities in this amount. So it's sectioned down by their grades. So we try to find places that will cover anyone from an E1 up to a general. So we're really trying to cover the spectrum when it comes to housing our members.
I see. Let's go back to the on-base housing just for a second. And is there a wait time? Is there, different property types depending if it's one person or a family, I'm assuming?
There is. So there are wait times depending on the person's rank. So right now, anyone E1 through E4 will typically have a little bit more of a wait. There are younger airmen, either with roommates or family. So they're kind of our quick to fill, but also our retirees and our government employees live in those units. And so we have to be very careful when we start looking at the wait list, and things change all the time. Our primary is to house our what we call target tenants, and those are families. Our other eligible tenants, or OETs, are our single airmen. So we really work very hard to make sure they understand this is an active duty member, house them first. And they're actually really good about doing that. And we have to have a really close working relationship with them to make this work. So yeah, there's always, confusion in some things, but for the most part, when it comes to the wait list, yes, there's always going to be some kind of a wait list.
Got it. No.
So, and then, as you know, because you said you did your research about PCSing, we're at the height of PCS season right now, and that's going to cover through typically April through September. So housing these next few months is going to be kind of tight.
Let's go back to the public side. If I'm a property owner, a landlord, a property manager, and I want to learn more about the options and get into this program, who should they connect with, and how should they connect with you?
So they can connect with our office. You can Google Kirtland military housing, and it will come up with our actual government email. And if anyone sends us an email, then my ladies are actually very good about passing the information along, like, hey, they're interested. I'm like, okay. So then I go ahead and send out all the documents and get them going. But yes, doing it that way is typically the easiest. Now, when they set up an account through homes.mil to list their homes, it comes through to our system, so we can do our own investigation to make sure it meets our criteria via our AFI and stuff, which is our Air Force information and documentation we have to keep up with. So we look at it before we approve even the homes.mil list. So really everything off base that we can offer, we try to pre-screen it.
I see. No, and that's great. And that makes a lot of sense. So you hit on this a little bit, but let's go a little deeper on support for housing issues, both on the military folks that you're taking care of, as well as the landlords or property managers. So if there's some challenges on both sides, how do you deal with it? What's the procedure there?
So when it comes to finding companies or property owners that want to be part of the program, the KPC, Kirtland partnership community. I always have a hard time with that one. We're really close with them. I typically go to every meeting they have. I get to meet a lot of interesting humans. Colonel Okamara, who is our mission support group commander, he's been very proactive with this particular committee. So that's been the biggest thing that we've been able to use right now, because they're here to help us and we're here to help them, not only because of the active duty members, but because of the overall employment that Kirtland offers to Albuquerque. So we have to work together to try to find a way to work those issues out. However, they have said that for housing, some of the hardest things is supply and demand, and to find people who want to build or remodel here in Albuquerque. So there are issues well beyond anyone's control at this point. I just know that there are a lot of people trying, but it's taking a lot more effort than what they anticipated, I think.
Yeah, I think fortunately or unfortunately, I'm intimately familiar with all the challenges we have with housing in the Albuquerque area, both on the single family homes and homes to purchase, as well as obviously the multifamily apartment type units. I mean, there are a lot of apartments that are being built right now, but most of them are at the higher end of the spectrum. You know, 2 bedrooms are $2,600 a month, which, you know, more luxury, again, what they call class A type apartments, where maybe that kind of middle range, there's not a lot to choose from. Is that what you're seeing on your side too?
So for us, any property that can be rented is great, but we do need more single family homes, especially for our RPP program, because we have a lot of members who have larger families and we can only accommodate them to a certain extent on base, which is surprising. I mean, if you look at the history of New Mexico, it's a very family oriented heritage, right? Like just with the community and the culture that we have here. But the homes that are here are small. They just don't have the bedroom space. On the installation, you can only room children within the same sex and age, right? So if someone has a family of 6, where am I supposed to put them? You know what I mean? So it makes it very complicated to accommodate our larger families. The smaller families, there's enough wiggle room, right? Because you do find your 1, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, we can make that work. But it's definitely the larger families. And the price point is almost too high. So they can't afford it in their BH. They're going to probably pay an extra $500-$600, if not more, over what they're allotted every month for rent and utilities. So it's becoming more of a headache to help find things for bigger families because there's nothing here. And we've all talked about it, but I've definitely talked about this at the KPC meetings. It's just hard to find them. No one can build that big and get the money back in enough time to make it worth their while.
Yeah, and the big challenge right now for single family homes, at least what we're seeing, is just the time frame. You know, even if somebody decided today to start building single family homes, we're 2 years away, you know, and so that's a problem. One thing we are seeing, and I don't know if you're watching this or not, is the build to rent communities, as they're called. And these are communities are all single family homes, yep, but they're all designated to be rented. None of them will ever be for sale. I know there's some, you know, there's one in Rio Rancho that's already starting to rent. There's a big one on the west side, 344 units. It's going to be starting up pretty soon. Are you watching that? And do you think that has a place in your mix of housing?
So right now, no, we haven't really heard much about that. I know it's out there, but it is something that we can look forward to and maybe include into RPP. That's the hardest thing, is to get it out to your single family home owners, right? Because it's either a person or it's a big real estate company. And sometimes they don't want to have some kind of an agreement, right? To give a discount to our military members, because then they feel like, oh, if I do it for them, I got to do it for everybody. Or I can get this rented before they even get here. So it becomes a kind of an interesting process to get that information out and bring those single family homes online for us.
Let's go down that road, because I think it sounds like that's one of your biggest challenges right now are the single family homes for rent. And I live in that world. I own single family homes that I rent, as well as I know a lot of people that do that. So if I'm interested or somebody I know is interested in getting their property, and like you said, it's usually somebody that has, a handful of properties. It's not a big entity that has hundreds of properties. They maybe have two or three that just are there for supplementing their income. How would they, what would their procedure be if they want to get involved with the airbase and make them available?
So they would still have to just reach out to us via email. They can even call the office. Like I said, my ladies are very good. They pass me the information and I reach out to them. We would have to still do a site visit. We like to still go see where the homes are located, what we're looking at, price points, so we can see whether or not it's comparable to BAH for our members. So there's a few things that have to go into place. If everything looks like it's going to be something that we can agree upon, we have an agreement. And that RPP agreement, that's where all the information is. And then that's where the property owner will typically state what kind of discount they'll provide, right? So some provide a percentage off of their overall rent each month, or some waive all the move-in fees, things like that. We don't have a set standard. That we leave completely to the companies, because we understand you have to make things work for yourself. So if we like all of that, I email that out to the company, give them plenty of time to read over it, and then they send it back signed. And then once I get it back, I sign it, send it. And these agreements can be anywhere from 1 to 5 years. But we can't guarantee that you're always going to have people from us, right? So the agreement is 1 year to 5 years for the rental partnership program. We try to keep in contact with those property owners on an annual basis. And we do try to always promote based upon what our members need. So if it's a family of 4 or 5 kids, we try to make sure we find something that's going to fit that for them, because we know on base probably isn't going to work for them. If it's young airmen out of the dorms whose BAH is a lot lower than someone who's like an E7, then we try to find something within their pay range. We have some great apartments. We don't necessarily push towards homes for single airmen. I know they really don't want a roommate, so we try to have really nice apartments for them that will work. Because really, when we're talking about our single airmen, they're coming out of the dorms. They spend about 3 years there, 3.5 at the most. And they're like, yeah, no more roommates, I'm done. So we do find that to be a problem, is like nice 1-bedroom apartments for them, or nice studio apartments that they can feel at home in. So that on that spectrum is a little complicated, but young airmen or young couples that finally got married, that's a pretty easy one to fill. It's the larger families to our small single individuals. Sometimes that gets a little complicated.
Got it. Just if you can give me a little like demographics. You said there's about 1,300 homes, housing units on base. How many people do you serve for housing in total? Do you have a sense of that?
In total, I believe that Kirtland right now, just active duty, we're pushing about 4,000. And that we try to reach every one of them before they get here. So we're looking at really digging in, trying to email, but yeah, we're up in the high thousands when it comes to numbers, and we can look that up and send you an actual number later. But I mean, we have a large amount no matter what, but we're also a training base.
So we're looking at about 4,000 in uniform and about 20,000 civilian and contractor.
So yeah, about 4,000 for our uniform members, our active duty, and then right around 20,000 for civilians, right, and contracting. So because we can house both on main base, it makes it a little complicated. What's nice is that a lot of our contractors and civilians already live in the area. They're from Albuquerque, or they're from New Mexico, or they made that transition from retirement and decided to stay here. So that's what's nice. Those help us with that mobility. But then we have our retirees on main base. Like, they just love the military life. They enjoy having that home taken care of. They don't have to worry about anything. And so then they add to quite the population on base for us. We have a large number of retirees. I don't know what it is, but we do have a large number on base. So it's kind of maneuvering. It's a chessboard of interacting with the public off base and with our privatized company, and then of course the member themselves who's going to live in the unit. And it's interesting to see how it works out every day.
Well, this has been really interesting on the housing side. I have to ask though, because I understand the air show is back in coming to Albuquerque. And
It
can
is.
can you share a little tidbit on that and what we can expect and when?
The air show is the 31st of May and the June 1st. So we have that little weekend. I'm not 100% sure what all is going to be there, but my cohort.
Yes, Margaret's right. It's the whole weekend, May 31st, June 1st. Come on out, have a great time. We're going to have the U.S. Army parachute team here. We're going to have the latest and greatest in the aerial fighters. The F-35 is going to be here. We've got an F-16 team that's going to be here. We've also got a lot of the aircraft that's anyone that lives around Albuquerque will see. There will be plenty of things on the ground as well, from STEM things to other concessions and things of that nature. So we're really thinking since this is the first air show in 6 years, it's really going to be a great opportunity for the community here in Albuquerque to come see what happens on this installation on a daily basis.
How do people learn more about that air show if they want to go check it out?
Well, we'll come back over here to me. So
Yeah.
as you're doing your research, if anyone just goes and Googles Kirtland Air Force Base, the first link that shows up will take you to our official webpage. And on that webpage, you will see a large banner talking about the 2025 Air Fiesta. Just click on that banner. And also feel free to check our social media pages, all Kirtland Air Force Base. We've been posting content about this air show coming up. I think we started back in January, February timeframe. So there'll be more information on there. So either the website or our social media channels.
Perfect. That's great. Well, I appreciate both of you and really interesting about housing and of course excited to have the air show back. I remember when our kids were young, they were probably maybe 5, 6, or 7, 8, something like that. And it was just, yeah, they'll never forget it. So yeah, if you've got little kids, you got to go to the air show because they've never seen anything quite like it. I'll tell you that. So Margaret, again, thank you so much. So much good information. Appreciate the work you're doing because housing is so important for everybody. And you're doing the work that has to get done so these people have a great place to live and feel safe and be part of our community. And we appreciate what you're doing out there.
Well, thank you for having me. Let me know if there's anything else I can get you information-wise.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching the video all the way to the end. We appreciate you. And please click subscribe. We'll keep you updated on what's going on with real estate in the Albuquerque area and New Mexico, and of course, across the entire country. Have a great one.